You are listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, hosted by Aaron Walker and Heather Dyer.
We're home cooks sharing our adventures with you. Let's all get inspired, cook better, and just eat great food. Welcome everyone to Three Kitchens Podcast. It's just the two of us here today. Aaron is here with me, and my name is Heather, and welcome.
Well, thank you, Heather. I feel so welcome.
Do you? Was that welcoming enough? Okay, so I have a little bit of a story to tell about how I came to this recipe that I'm going to try for today. In the podcast space, podcasters often ask each other, especially if they're new, they ask more experienced podcasters, how do you come up with the topic for your episodes? So often it's not really an issue for us because we just think of what sounds yummy or what we've always wanted to try and have never attempted, or
It doesn't take much thought. We just let our stomachs lead the way.
yeah,
Ooh,
exactly.
that looks tasty. My stomach went gurgle.
Exactly. But I was thinking about this and I was like, I wonder like how we could use this, because one of the common answers, as you, Aaron, will recognize, often people say, research the trending search terms in your topic area, because that tells you what are people Googling and looking up that pertains to the topic of your podcast. So I actually came across a comment in one of those threads when I was thinking about this, and I went back and I kind of looked, and somebody gave some instructions for how to go about this in an easy way. I think you can actually spend money.
Oh, you can always spend money.
Oh, true enough. So here's an easy way. They say just put in your browser, Google Trends. Google has like a website. It just has a search bar, and you put in your search terms and then you search and see what comes up. It gives you all these analytics surrounding what are people looking up in that topic area. So I decided I was going to try this. And then they say the next thing is when you get to the results, scroll down until you see the heading called Related Queries, and then see some specific terms related to that search you just did. And that'll tell you what are people looking at.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's a little, stick with me. We'll get through it.
I'm just like, whoa, this is okay. I never think this hard, so.
No, I know. I went to a little bit. Normally I just pick
it.
out a thin air or whatever, but so I went to a little bit more.
Oh, this is fun.
method.
I like this.
So I decided I'm going to search the term on Google Trends, recipe, and then I'm going to scroll down to related queries, like they said.
Okay.
And I predetermined that I decided I was going to pick from the top 3 results under related queries. Whatever those are, I'm going to pick whichever one I like out of those 3.
Okay.
I'm going to pick one of them, and that's where I'm going to start. So I did that. I searched recipe.
Okay.
I cannot recall what the number 1 and number 2 were, but number 3 jumped out at me. It was Chinese eggplant dishes. And I was like, ooh, yeah, that's what I did. Ooh, this sounds kind of fun, right?
Totally.
And so then I thought, okay, now what am I going to do with this popular for the day search term? And believe me, it changes by the day. If you go into trends today, it will not come up the same. So
so it's like ever changing based on daily data.
I assume, I don't know how often it's refreshed, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have questions into that, but
That's the scientist in you.
We'll put those questions away. Like,
no idea.
Who knows?
I know nothing. Okay, so Chinese eggplant dishes. I decided I will go to a recipe blog that I like for Chinese recipes, which is Walks of Life.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the Walks of Life? Yeah.
We love the Walks of Life.
Great blog, great recipes, easy to follow. They always turn out great. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Walks of Life. I'm going to put in their search bar Chinese eggplant dishes.
Okay.
And whatever the third recipe is that comes up in their search results, because that was the third.
Because we're going with lucky number 3.
Yep. And that's what I'm making.
Okay.
Whew. A long way to get to.
So what are we going to eat?
A little something called Chinese Stuffed Eggplant.
Oh.
It looks delicious. Of course, their photography is also fantastic on this website. It makes you want to eat absolutely everything that they make. It says here, Chinese stuffed eggplant is a popular dim sum dish that also makes a great lunch or dinner served with rice. It sounds delicious. The eggplant is stuffed with what you would usually find in a dumpling, minced pork and shrimp. I don't even know what else is in there. I got that far and I was like, yes, I'm sold. Not that I mean, I was committed to doing whatever it was going to be anyways, but when I just browsed it quickly, I was like, yes, this sounds fantastic.
Oh, great.
And then you're going to just brown it in a pan. I think brown the eggplant, and then it's steamed.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then you serve it with a sauce.
Okay, question. Is a Chinese eggplant different than Indian eggplants? Oh, are they the long ones?
This looks like a long one.
Ooh. Because I've seen them in the store lately, and I was like, I wonder what you could make with that long eggplant.
It says Japanese eggplants. And if I look up Japanese or China, I guess they're also sometimes called Asian eggplants. They're long, skinny ones. Because it looks like what you're going to do, what I'm going to do, not you, is cut this long, skinny eggplant into chunks. And then that chunk of an eggplant, you're going to slice it, but not all the way through, and then kind of open it up almost as if it's a little hot dog bun. Can you picture that?
Yeah.
It's like,
I get that.
And you're going to stuff it like that so that it's kind of this wedge of eggplant with the dumpling kind of stuffing in the middle. And then fry, steam the whole thing.
This sounds fantastic.
So, I mean, I guess it depends what kind of eggplants happen to be available. I think the real little ones would be difficult.
Yeah. So I'm laughing a little bit to myself over here because Heather's way of trying out an unknown vegetable is very methodical.
Only today.
Whereas my haphazard, like, I have no idea what that is. I'm going to pick something up.
I have very rarely done that.
Yeah. So I like you forced yourself to buy an unknown produce item, whereas I'm just like, ooh, it's that. Like
That's
the squirrel of shoppers.
But you're more brave. I'm like, first I need to know what I'm going to be doing with it, because is it something I actually want to take on, the amount of effort required? Or, I mean, I have
That's the scary
cooked
part.
eggplant before.
Yeah, they're great grilled.
I've made the big one. Yeah, slice it up and grill it, or make eggplant parmesan with it.
Ooh, yeah, I've seen
Something
that.
like that. But I have to admit, I've not done a lot with eggplants.
No, it's mostly slice and grill over in this corner.
It doesn't have a lot of flavor.
No, and it can be bitter at times. I must have done something wrong and it's been bitter before. And I've been like, oh, I feel like this whole dish is ruined because it just tastes like bitter eggplant.
Oh, remember when I made the Turkish pita? Turkish pizza, as they say, the pita? It had an eggplant, chopped eggplants with like tomatoes.
It was
sumac
cooked down and all delicious and kind
that
of
was
like
so
a
good.
chutney almost.
Yeah.
There. Ooh.
That was good.
I'm excited to try this out. I've seen those
Yeah.
eggplants at the store. I was looking at them going, I wonder what you do with these.
Well, now you know. You make Chinese stuffed eggplant dish.
You will show me the way.
Well, I hope so. It sounds delicious. There's nothing in here that's like super out there.
No, I think this will be good.
Okay, so there you go. A long story about how I came across the recipe, and hopefully it's a good.
If you're looking for inspiration on how to get inspiration,
give it a try and see what comes up for you. And if you do,
okay, I will.
yeah. And then,
will.
listener, if you do it, let us know what random thing popped up for you. Expecting a baby or planning for one? Birthing Magazine is here for you. Since 1997, Birthing Magazine has been Alberta's #1 trusted source for current, relevant information on pregnancy, birth, and parenting alternatives. Published 3 times a year by Birth Unlimited, a local nonprofit, each issue is sharing inspiring birth stories, evidence-based research, and community events.
From midwifery care and home birth to full duration breastfeeding and attachment parenting and beyond. Birthing Magazine explores the options and alternatives that matter most to you. We believe, know, and share that empowered birth works not only for the child and the family, but also the world. Birthing Magazine. Take charge of your birth experience.
So for Chinese stuffed eggplant, you're going to start by making the filling. You're putting shrimp, which are peeled and deveined, and ground pork, salt, sugar, pepper, sesame oil, vegetable oil, and rice wine into your food processor and making a paste out of
Okay.
it. My food processor bit the dust a while ago and I have not replaced it. So I first attempted in the blender. It didn't work as well. So I ended up just chopping my shrimp and kind of combining everything and using a potato masher and kind of like smashing it up a bit to make a paste. So my paste was probably a bit more rough than what you
Okay.
might prefer. Like my shrimp had some bigger pieces. I thought it was fine.
As long as it's something you can stir together and stuff into something, I
Yeah.
think it's nice to be able to just do it without the machines.
Yeah, and if you have the food processor, it's probably quicker. But then you're going to put this in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. While you do that, you can cut your eggplant. So these are the Japanese eggplants, which are the long, thin ones, not the big round ones, not the little tiny round ones. There's different kinds of eggplants. These are the Japanese style eggplants. So you're going to cut 1 to 1.5 inch thick slices diagonally. Then each slice you're going to cut through the middle, but not all the way. You don't want two pieces of eggplant. You want like a hinged little Pac-Man looking eggplant slice.
Okay.
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 It has like an open mouth, right? Someone just came in the room. Sorry.
I really like that we both had to make the hinge. As you explained it, I was like, okay.
Okay, this is what your eggplant slice is going to look like. Okay, we'll have to put that in the video.
Did your eggplant talk to you? Did you make it talk? Hello.
Give me pork and shrimp.
Too bad our
Okay.
kids don't appreciate our nonsense anymore.
Sometimes they will humor me, but usually they roll their eyes.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, whatever. Okay, so the whole point of that is to keep the two pieces together because if you just had two slices, they'd easily fall apart,
I
right?
can see that. Yeah.
Eggplants are kind of slippery.
Yeah.
Like they're smooth, so there's nothing in there to make it stick. Okay, so each of those little slices you're going to fill with your shrimp and pork filling. So you're basically just gonna take a little spoon and like smoosh it in there as best
Yeah.
you can.
You're stuffing them.
Yeah, you're stuffing it. It's called stuffed eggplant.
I think we're on board.
You're with me.
I got this.
Okay, then you're going to, in a skillet over medium high heat with a little oil in the pan, you're going to brown each side.
Okay.
If the pan starts to look dry, which it will because eggplant's going to soak up that oil, keep adding, a tablespoon of oil. Just you
Okay.
don't want it, you're not like deep frying them here, but you want enough oil so they're browning and not sticking.
Okay. Good advice.
So I did this in 2 batches in my skillet. When they're done, take them out and put them on a plate just to wait for the next step.
Was this a cast iron pan or a stainless steel skillet?
I used my cast iron skillet.
Okay.
I use it for just about everything. So
I kind of use mine for everything too, but sometimes when I pan fry stuff, I bring out my stainless steel one.
yeah, I have a gas stove, so it tends to be pretty consistent. Yeah. Okay, then we're gonna steam these little, I was thinking of them as like little sandwiches because that's kind of what they look like,
Okay,
right?
I like that. Yeah.
Because you've now browned the eggplant, you haven't cooked the filling. That pork shrimp is still raw in the middle. So you need to steam the whole thing to cook it all.
Okay.
You're going to put it in the steamer for 7 to 10 minutes. I think you just got to keep an eye on it and see when it's done. You want the eggplant to be soft, so it's done. But if it goes too far, it can get real mushy almost.
Okay, yeah.
And you just want to, my concern was just making sure that that pork was cooked.
Yeah.
When you see how small those little slices are and how little filling actually goes in them, you probably won't worry about it because it's going to cook quick. It's not a big stack of meat.
It's kind of like making a dumpling. It's really just like maybe a tablespoon of filling
Yeah,
at most, and then you just
yeah,
have to, yeah.
yeah. So it's not actually all that much. Yeah. And while it's steaming or after they're done, you will make a sauce. And the
Yes.
sauce in a little saucepan.
This is where I'm pulling up closer to the screen
Oh,
because I want to know what the sauce was.
that doesn't help you hear any
I
better, Erin.
Shh, it does.
It's
Now
like when
you've
you
got me.
do you also turn down the radio so you can drive, like see the signs better when you're driving?
Yes.
Yes, so do I. That's a sign of age too, I believe.
Okay, but also think that you only have so much input that your brain can take from your senses.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
people who go blind, for example, have better hearing and are more aware of other things that they use their other senses for. So I argue strongly that by turning down the radio, you do increase your visual sense. That's my argument. I'm sticking by it.
I think you're probably right.
Old
And you
ladies
are the
of the
scientist,
world
so
agree with me on this.
old ladies, old folks of the world, we all know you can see better by
Mhm.
quieting the input into your ears. Okay,
Exactly. Okay, sorry.
all right,
Slight diversion. Back on track.
back on track. Okay,
What is in this sauce?
in the sauce, you have in a saucepan over medium heat a teaspoon of oil, half a teaspoon of sesame oil, and a clove of minced garlic. Now you're going to let that cook maybe 30 seconds or so, get the garlic going.
Okay.
Then you're going to add a cup of chicken stock, a tablespoon of oyster sauce, and a teaspoon of soy sauce, a pinch of sugar. Seriously, all the interruptions, very distracting. And season with salt and pepper to taste. But you might want to just get it all blended and warmed up and then taste and see if you want salt and pepper.
Okay, yeah.
Simmer, then make a little cornstarch slurry with, 2 tablespoons cornstarch, 2 tablespoons water.
Okay.
Put a little of that in just to thicken it up. I felt like it got thick fast. I was like, oh my God, all of a sudden it's like gravy. It went from a nice sauce to like, it's so thick.
It was gravy like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you're ready to serve, you pour it over your eggplant, toss a few scallions, chopped green onion on there if you want, and that's it. That's your little dim sum stuffed eggplant.
This is really cool. I want to know how your family liked it because you had like the full dim sum experience
Wow.
for your fam. You made other things with it. So was it a winner? What did the family say?
The family enjoyed the meat, like the pork
Okay.
stuff filling. The kids did not enjoy the eggplant. My husband thought
Oh.
the whole thing was great, ate it all up. And he's not really a big eggplant fan. So he was like,
Right.
I think it's good. And he just like gobbled it up. And I thought
Yeah.
it was good too. I didn't love how thick that sauce was. I wanted something a bit, I
Okay.
would adjust the sauce. Maybe not even put the cornstarch slurry in it next time. Maybe just keep it for my taste. I thought it
Okay.
was a bit too gravy. Although we also didn't eat it directly out of the steamer onto the, I think if you ate it as soon as it's
Oh.
ready, it would have been,
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because I kept it just like you. I delivered some to you and we hadn't eaten ours either. And then we had it for dinner. And
Right.
I don't think it's as good when it's been sitting because the
Did you reheat
sauce,
it?
yeah, and the
Okay.
sauce was even a little thicker. I'm like, oh my God, this sauce. So I think it would
Oh.
have been better to eat fresh out of the steamer, warm
Right.
sauce.
I feel like a lot of the Asian food that we eat or prepare, you have to like make it and serve it right away. And I
Hmm.
always remember when Sarah ever cooked anything for us, she's like, I'm just in the kitchen, I'm making it and serving it, and I'll eat it later, but you guys have to eat this fresh. Like she would always say
Yeah.
that. And I feel like that's something maybe sort of consistent in a lot of the Asian cooking is that you make it and eat it right away.
Yeah. There are certain things that are better the next day,
Yeah.
as we all know. But this is not, I don't think eggplant is great.
So
No.
mine sat for a day
Okay.
before I got to preparing it and eating it. So I tossed it into my little Wonder Oven, reheated it at 300 degrees until things were bubbling and sizzling. I wasn't sure because I thought, oh boy, is this gonna like, is the eggplant just gonna like, and it's gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
fall apart? Because it's a funny texture on the inside where it can go from like spongy to liquid. And that in between phase
There's a
is
sweet spot with
like,
eggplant, I think. Yeah.
there is. And so mine held up really well. I was
Mm,
super impressed. It didn't fall apart at all.
yeah.
The eggplant was soft, but it wasn't runny. I could still pull it apart and see like the texture of it, which I thought was
Hmm.
how I want it to be cooked. And the flavors all together with everything. And I liked the graviness of the sauce.
Okay. Okay.
I heated mine up in a pan and then just had it next to it in a little dish. So every bite that I took off, I dipped in my gravy and ate
Oh, that's a good way to do it,
because I
Linda.
wasn't
Yeah.
sure if it should be poured over top. And I also wanted to have a little bit of like with sauce and without sauce,
Hmm. You
just to
want
kind
to
of know
taste
how
it.
much the sauce
Yeah.
makes it. The sauce is crucial, I would say. It
Hmm.
was fantastic with the sauce. So, and also my son, he had a bite. He was like, "Oh, what are you eating? That looks really good." And I was like, "You think it looks good?"
I don't think it
I
looks
don't think it
good.
was a pretty dish at all. And I was like,
No, it's not.
"Okay, here, have a bite." So I sliced off like a whole bite and I was like, "Do you want some sauce on it?" And he smelled the sauce. He's like, "Okay, yeah." And so I put some sauce on it. He took a bite and he's like, "Oh, that's really interesting. What I know there's like shrimp in the filling, but what's that
Mm,
other thing that I'm eating it in?" And I was like, "That's an eggplant." And he's like, "Oh, I would have never eaten this if you would have told me what it was
mm.
beforehand, but I actually really liked that."
Yeah, that's good. And some of the filling kind of came out as they were cooking, so I just kind of scooped that up and tossed it in there too because it tastes good and you don't want to lose all that.
Well, that's the meat of the dish.
Yes,
You don't let
and
that go to the
without it,
wayside.
but it's only 170 grams of shrimp and 85 grams of pork. It's not
Oh,
that, I
that's
don't know
not a
if you don't know what that
lot.
is. 6 ounces of shrimp, 3 ounces of pork. It's not
That's
a lot because those slices are small and you can't fit much in them, right?
I feel
So
like
what?
there might be a better way to stuff the eggplant. Cutting it sub bun style, because it's a long, thin eggplant, and like stuffing it
Oh,
all along there, and then cooking it like that, and then slicing it after or something. I don't
or
know.
making it into like a boat, like sort of carving out the top of it
Yeah.
and stuffing it and then drizzle your sauce all over the whole thing and then just slice it as you go or something.
Yeah. I almost wonder if there's a better way to
Yeah.
stuff it. And maybe that's not how it's traditionally made, but
Maybe you could make it, well, you couldn't brown it the same then. That's the
ah,
only thing.
there's where it goes funny.
Yeah, unless you're gonna bake it or something. Like you can't brown the outside if you're gonna mess with the slices.
I see what you're saying.
There's a method to this.
There is a reason for it. Very interesting.
And let's keep in mind that dim sum is usually small bites and you have a large variety of them.
Yeah.
So this would just be one little dish in your meal of
Yeah.
dim sum. So,
Yeah.
okay, so but since it only took a small amount of each of those, and I had thawed a pound of pork and I had a bag of shrimp, I did the little mathy math as best I could, and I made it all. I made all the shrimp with all my pork, and I
Ah.
just increased everything else that went into that.
Hmm.
And I just used as much as I needed for the eggplant. And so I had this extra. I added ginger to it. So I used the rest of it and I got some dumpling wrappers and I made dumplings with it.
Yes.
It works great as a dumpling filler. So if you do like I do and you make a big batch of it, you can use
Yeah.
some for your eggplant dish, some for dumplings. You could just freeze it and make it later. I think you had mentioned that you made dumplings recently and you just fried up some of that filling and put it on rice.
Yeah, I had extra filling, fried it up, and then added some cooked rice to it. And that made like a shrimp and pork fried rice and
Mm,
added some stuff to it. It was really good too.
yeah, that's a great idea.
I love this shrimp pork. It's kind of a very flexible, ground meat filling that can go in all these different things and you can eat it all these different ways and they're all so good. And I like the eggplant for this now too.
Yeah, and if you want to put veggies, like grate some cabbage or carrot, toss it in there. You could make
Yep.
wontons. You could
Carrots, cabbage, mushrooms, stuff.
We have other dumpling. There was an episode way back in Three Kitchens with shumai, the little open steamed dumplings that were fantastic. I'm sure there's been a few dumplings mentioned at various times, so we have ideas.
Yes, we have lots of ideas. And this filling is good in eggplant. I really like this.
Yeah, if you are an eggplant fan, or if you just want to eat eggplant, here's an idea.
Yeah, cool stuff.
Okay, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I really did.
It was an odd way to get to it. It was a little bit of an odd recipe for me, but in the end, I think it worked.
I liked it. The flavors were great, and I thought it turned out really well. Good job.
Thank you. Awesome. And now for the fine print. For links to recipes and many other random things we talked about in this episode, check out the show notes or our website, www.threekitchenspodcast.com. Join us on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, and TikTok to see what we're cooking up next. And if you love the show, tell a friend. Word of mouth is the #1 way people learn about new podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Okay.
Your face is like, ready for business.
Okay, I'm here.